Now, Reality Winner, the NSA contractor who leaked a report detailing Russian interference in the 2016 election, has just been sentenced today to 5 years and 3 months in prison. Now, for the story here, let's go to the New York Times, who explains that Miss Winner, who's 26 years old, received the longest sentence ever imposed for an unauthorized release of government information to the media. She is the first person to be sentenced under the Espionage Act since President Trump took office. Fascinating who they choose to go after first. But she was arrested in June 2017 and was held for more than a year while prosecutors built their case. She then pleaded guilty in June 2018 to one felony count of unauthorized transmission of national defense information for giving a classified report about Russian interference in the 2016 election to a news outlet. Now, she decided to give this information to The Intercept, which of course later on published it. Now, prosecutors say that she printed a report from her work computer that detailed hacking attacks by a Russian intelligence service against local election officials and voter registration databases. So basically, she is the reason that we know about the cyber attacks against our electoral infrastructure. Now, that's something you would think we kind of need to know. Like, hey, our infrastructure is vulnerable, so here's a whistleblower, here's a leaker saying, hey, vulnerable. In fact, here's a report from the NSA saying, by the way, they're attacking our elections. Maybe we should do something about it, like protect our elections. So now what happens? What happened to Reality? Well, obviously, we already know what happened to Reality. They went and prosecuted her to the fullest extent, and actually they gave her the longest sentence ever under the Espionage Act. Now, federal guidelines allowed for a sentence of up to 10 years, but prosecutors agreed in June to a sentence of 63 months to avoid a trial that would require discussing classified reports and intelligence gathering techniques in open court. And of course, they don't want to do that, right? And I suppose I can understand why they don't want to talk about that. But at the same time, prosecutors argued in a sentencing memorandum filed this week that such a trial would, quote, compound the exceptionally grave harm to national security already caused by the defendant. Now, wait a minute here. What harm? What harm did her releasing this document that says, hey, by the way, our elections have been meddled in, right? What harm did that cause to the government? No, that's telling everybody, hey, maybe you guys should argue for paper ballots and to protect our elections. But again, we don't go in that direction because the Trump administration says, no, we're not going to address this. In fact, we're going to turn down money that's used to protect our elections, to protect our cybersecurity. We're going to turn down that money. We're not going to go to paper ballots. In fact, we're going to leave our systems open and vulnerable to whether it be the Russians, the Chinese, the Israelis, or even hackers that are domestic. Yeah, let's do that. And then let's use this as a vehicle to attack the media. You're going to love that part. But look, here's the thing. We know now, thanks to Reality Winner, that the Russian government did sanction a cyber attack on an election with the intent to cause chaos. And chaos they have caused, because if you haven't noticed, the last couple of years have been slightly chaotic. But now, in considering, of course, what she released to the press during the administration, is there any surprise she got such a harsh sentence for it? Now, to me, I think her actions are more on the line of Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden. Why? Because they both revealed things that the government in power did not want us to know. Now, why wouldn't the government, under the Trump administration, want us to know that our elections were attacked? Well, let's be honest, it's embarrassing. It's incredibly embarrassing. And of course, for Donald Trump himself, it would lend to the suggestion that his win was not completely legitimate. Now, you guys know my thoughts on that, right? I think Hillary Clinton, this was still her election to lose. Now, her campaign died the death of 1,000 cuts, and I don't think I need to go and explain that. You guys know where I stand on that issue, right? But anyway, just like the last administration, and this is what the important thing is. This is the bad precedent, right? Just like the last administration, they go after the whistleblowers and the leakers with extreme malice. Because how dare you embarrass the government by revealing this kind of information, which actually serves the public interest? And that's what this is about. We know that our elections are not secure. And of course, that is embarrassing to these election officials, because now the government, look, they never want to question the results of elections. That's why they don't like recounts. That's why they went after Jill Stein when she's like, I want to do a recount. Yes, let's do a presidential recount to make sure that Donald Trump did not win the election. She went and pushed that. The government said, no. The mainstream media laughed at her. All while pushing, of course, the idea that Russia did hack the election, which they did not hack the vote totals. They didn't change the vote totals, but they did get into the voter registration. So they certainly tried messing with things. Now, here's the thing, right? Whenever people want to ask for verification, when it comes to our elections, when it comes to election results, you have tremendous pushback. How dare you undermine our results? How dare you question us? We're the experts. The elections are settled. And we've seen that in primaries. We saw that in the primary race with Kobach. Chris Kobach is somebody who doesn't believe in democracy. He hates democracy. So when there's a possibility, and by the way, there was weird election stuff going on in Kansas where there was a computer glitch where the computers went out for a couple of hours. Kobach was behind in that race. The computers come back up, and suddenly Kobach's in the lead. Now, do we know specifically that somebody messed with the results? No. But we also don't know that didn't happen because they won't let us see it. They won't let us verify it. The company that owns the voting machines, by the way, their new voting machines, they said, oh, no, you can't look at that. That's proprietary software. So we can't go and look and verify those results. This is what happens when you put private corporations in charge of our voting machines. Paper ballots. We've got to have verification. We have to have verification. Or else you never know. So now look, in this case, of course, I'm not saying that the Russians changed vote totals. They didn't. There's no evidence of that. But that doesn't mean that something like that couldn't happen in the future. Could be the Russians, could be the Saudis, the Israelis, the Chinese, all these different groups, or even domestic groups, like I said before, could go in and hack vote totals and cause chaos, or cause specific people to win or specific people to lose. We need to fix that. We should not have voting machines. We should have hand-counted paper ballots. We should have these things that are easily verifiable and accountable. That's what we need to do. We are vulnerable to cyber attack with these. And instead of fixing that, of course, the government decides, no, let's go over to the person that did this, that revealed this, I should say, to the public, and finally got us talking about, hey, maybe we should protect our elections. And look, I would be remiss if I did not mention, or if I did not thank President Obama for setting the precedent for going after leakers and whistleblowers with such malice. They even went after the press. They threatened the press for reporting those leaks. Let me go to the example of James Risen. Now, in one of its most important leak prosecutions, Barack Obama's Justice Department tried to force a New York Times reporter, James Risen, to disclose the identity of one of his sources. You can't do that. Then if you have to reveal the identity of your sources under threat of the government coming in and saying and threatening arrest and prosecution against a journalist for reporting on things that are leaked, You set a terrible precedent. Nobody's going to come back and give any information. Of course, that's what the government wants. They don't want reporting of these leaks. So, and again, what Risen did, and I think Risen is a hero for that, he refused to cooperate and he risked going to prison. And that precedent set by the Obama administration of going after leakers, going after whistleblowers, and then trying to attack the press, what did you think was going to happen when somebody else got into office? You allow President Obama to open the door, and then Trump charges through it like a bull in a china shop. And so that's the situation that we're left with. Because remember, to Trump, the media is the enemy of the people. The enemy of the people. And of course, Donald Trump hates the Russia investigation as well. And so, and let me give you the reason why Winter was caught, by the way. And this, of course, goes back to a couple of different things. The Justice Department, of course, thanks to President Obama, going really, really hard after leakers, decides, okay, we're going to go really hard after Winter, or this person that leaked these documents. We're going to find this person. And they didn't know who it was before, but they were able to find her through aggressive measures. And of course, the NSA as well thinks, yes, we're going to go after leakers, especially after Edward Snowden caught us with our pants down. Now we're going to beef up our own security, right? And what's interesting is it's almost as if the government is more interested or more concerned with stopping internal leaks than actually dealing with foreign interference, which is what they're not doing. Anyway, what happened is The Intercept, when they published the story, first they went to the NSA for verification, right? And in doing so, they made a little bit of a mistake. They made an error. And of course, that does happen. And I don't think that it was malicious. I know some people think that Glenn Greenwald, for example, might have done this because he was critical of the Russia investigation. I actually don't believe that's true. But nonetheless, it's just stuff that I hear, nothing but kind of rumor. But anyway, the Intercept did mishandle the documents. They admit they mishandled the documents. And what happened is the NSA noticed that there had been a fold in the paper. So why does that matter? Well, it turns out you fold up a paper to hide it, which means that it got printed out by an employee, was obtained by an employee. They were able to take that information to track what what printer it came from, and then what computer had sent the information to the printer to have it printed out. And that, of course, allowed the NSA to trace the document right back to Winter. So that's unfortunate. That's how they got her, right? Now, The Intercept had released a statement, by the way, saying that after an internal review, we acknowledged shortcomings in our handling of the document. However, soon became clear that the government had it at its disposal and had aggressively used multiple methods to quickly hunt down Winter. The information in the Intercept story and the NSA report played a crucial role in alerting local election officials who had been in the dark about the cyber attack, a public service that was implicitly acknowledged in a recent report from the Senate Intelligence Committee. As a former official from the Department of Homeland Security told The Intercept Sam Biddle, transmitting word of the cyber attacks down the chain was not a high priority issue for the NSA. So understand, this wasn't even a high priority for them. But because it had to do with the Russia investigation, because Donald Trump hates the Russia investigation, Donald Trump hates the media, suddenly this is high priority. Now we're going to go after her. Now, The Intercept also writes, reality Winter's courage and sacrifice for the good of her country should be honored, not punished. Selective and politically motivated prosecution of leakers and whistleblowers under the Espionage Act, which dramatically escalated under Barack Obama, opening the door for the Trump Justice Department's abuses, are an attack on the First Amendment that will one day be judged harshly by history. And look, The Intercept, they admit that they did mess up, and they also, for context, it's important to note that they had funded her legal defense as well. So they admit wrongdoing, but they also say, look, we have this war on whistleblowers, war on leakers that has continued from the Obama administration, that they, of course, extensively reported on during the Obama administration, and, of course, earned the ire of that administration and their Justice Department, which is now being continued by the Trump Justice Department under Jeff Sessions. So, unfortunately, Obama did start this, but Trump is more than happy to finish. And that, of course, is disastrous. It's disastrous for the First Amendment. It's disastrous for public knowledge and public service. And that's what Winner did. Just like Snowden, just like Manning, Winner did a public service. It did not harm the government, but it did embarrass them. And, of course, you can't embarrass the government. Rule number one. Oh, no, we meant, like, we are not protecting our elections the way that we should. And so, yes, our elections were meddled with, but we don't want you to know because we don't want to actually have to do anything, and we don't want to admit that we didn't do enough to protect our elections in the first place. She is a patriot. She did the right thing. Did a public service. But unfortunately, just like with Snowden and the NSA spying, instead of doing the right thing, the government does the wrong thing and punishes the messenger. Reality Winner is an American patriot. She did the right thing, and I think that she deserves a pardon immediately. Free Reality Winner. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.